in London with this episode of GUcast. I'm literally standing exactly where I stood in March with Renew when we did a podcast from here all about the single port robot. And we're back in almost exactly the same spot. Me on my own, I'm afraid Renew is back in Australia for the European Robotic Urology Section, the EAU Robot Section, the ERUS meeting. Apart from the EAU, my favourite meeting of the year. Every year for many years we've brought you highlights, GUcast highlights of the ERUS meeting, which is just a live surgery spectacular. I often tell the fellows and my colleagues that it's the single meeting every year where we tweak technique quite reliably. Over the years, all the changes I've made in my own personal surgical technique have been because of what I've seen at the ERUS meeting. So it's a fantastic meeting. So as ever, we're going to bring you a flavour of that meeting. We're going to show you some of the scenes of all the live surgery. We're going to chat to some of the fantastic faculty that have gathered here from around the world and bring you some tips, I suppose, from some of the key sessions. This episode is supported by our partners, Device Technologies, who of course distribute the intuitive surgical robot in Australia. And one of the things I'll be personally interested in is what's happening with the intuitive single port robot, which features here in a number of the live surgery sessions, because of course we've just introduced that in Australia and we're really interested in getting the most out of that technology. So I hope you enjoy this episode and stay tuned for some fantastic live surgery action. Alberto Breda, who is the chair of the ERUS section. Congratulations, Alberto. Fantastic meeting yet again.
Thank you so much. I'm very happy.
Yeah, so we're here in London. I mean, it looks like huge numbers. Tell us a bit about the attendance and the number of live surgeries that we're seeing.
Yeah, so this year I think we have almost a record number of 1,200 people registered, which is I would say a very fair number for a section of the EAU. We have 36 live surgeries plus pre-recorded, so huge event, massive number of surgeries, 5 hospitals in London were actually working very hard to make this happen, so we had a very nice support here from the local organizer team. I'm very happy. We have almost all the available platforms in the market right now in the world, I would say, because we have, of course, Intuitive, Medtronic, Microport, Edge Medical, Mantra. So we have the SP. So very, very happy of the results so far. This is just the first day, but so far everything is very smooth.
It's the first day and we've already had 2 back-to-back live surgery sessions running on 3 screens simultaneously. It is quite amazing for the audience, isn't it, to be able to flick between here's someone doing a Hugo prostatectomy, here's a single port partial nephrectomy, here's a simple prostatectomy on XI system. There's something there for everybody. So the live surgery is a key part of it. That's why you have such a big draw. But some of the education and plenary sessions are really good. We spoke earlier to Ben Chalicum or to Daniel Moon and Jim Porter about the complications session. There was a great session on emergency undocking. There's a whole industry session running later, and of course all the parallel courses. So it's not just the live surgery. There's also some really good didactic teaching.
Of course, this is ERUS is not only live surgery, but is education, and we really believe that a meeting such as this one, although it's a live surgery event, it's also, as I said, an education event. So we cannot avoid courses, training sessions, and a beautiful session like the one we've seen on complications. I think to see such a huge amount of complications from, 10, 15 centers around the world who sent their videos in, commented on a live sessions by experts in front of 800 delegates. I think I learned a lot. It was impressive. Of course, people like to see complications. They don't like to to have complications, but when it's on screen, we learn a lot. So, yeah, I think the education and the sessions are very important at ERUS.
And finally then about telesurgery, because last year in Bordeaux we spoke to you and you had done some telesurgery cases yourself. Yeah. So I believe there's some telesurgery. This is still a growing area of interest that robotic surgery, or certainly the newer platforms, seem to enable. So tell us a bit about what's coming up during the meeting for telesurgery.
Sure. Telesurgery is a reality nowadays and not fiction any longer. So right now there is an ongoing session, industry session, a sponsor session by Microport on the first FDA trial from the United States to Angola. 10 patients will undergo, actually one already underwent a radical prostatectomy by V. Patel in the group with Marshall Moscovas.
So patient in Angola.
Patient in Angola, consult in Florida.
Amazing.
It's amazing, and it's even more amazing that it has been FDA approved. You know how tough it is to get a trial from the FDA, particularly on telesurgery. So I was very amazed. In Europe, we're starting. We have another center in Aalst, which is approved for IRB approval for telesurgery, and tomorrow morning we'll have 3 telesurgeries in 3 screens at the same time. So prime time at 9 a.m. Alex Matri will perform a surgery from here, London to Aalst. I will be performing a case from here to Beijing, and then there will be a case from here to New Delhi with the Mantra system. So we have Microport with the Tomai, we have Edge Medical with MP1000, and we have the Mantra system performing at the same time in 3 different screens at 9 a.m. tomorrow in 3 different parts of the world. So, listen,
that is a world first. That is a unique thing for this. Which is the daddy of all the live surgery meetings.
I would say so. So telesurgery is here. Yeah. We trust very much that, we believe very much that telesurgery is the present and will be the future. And telementoring, we'll talk a lot about telementoring, which is getting more and more popular, particularly in Europe.
Wonderful. And then, I don't know, have you revealed the location for next year's ERUS meeting?
Well, it's written outside.
Oh, okay.
So 2026 will be in Padua. Padua is a very nice city. Not everybody knows about Padua, but Padua is a small city, 200,000 people living in there. But it's the oldest university, medicine university in Europe. It dates back to the 1200s, and so 1200, I think, is 1215 DC. So I think it's very unique. There's a lot of art there. Urology was very big in Padua, is very big in Padua. It's a very old school, so I think we'll have fun over there.
No problem. We'll put up that save the day and a link in the notes as well.
And it's just 10 kilometers, 20 kilometers from Venice. So it's not bad.
Lots of reasons. Well, congratulations again, Alberto. This is our favorite meeting of the year, so we love coming here.
Thank you, Declan.
Thank you. So this is how the live surgery works at ERUS. We have 3 big screens showing 4K video from 3 different hospitals at any one time. This is just the start of a session now, so we have Ben Chalicum on this screen about to do a partial nephrectomy on the Hugo robot over at Guy's. On the middle screen, we have Simone Crivellero doing a single port partial nephrectomy at London Bridge Hospital. And on the far screen, we have Ashwin Sridhar, who's doing a robotic simple prostatectomy on a Da Vinci. So you might wonder, how can we hear what's going on? Well, they've got these fantastic headsets which are color coordinated. So the red color is the middle screen, and then if I want to listen to what's going on with Ben Chalicum, I switch to the green screen, or the other screen is a blue screen. And that's how it works. Let's have a tune in and listen. This is an amazing session. Dan Moon is running the complications in robotic surgery section here in the main plenary, and he's showing some of the most horrific examples of bleeding that you've ever seen. This is part of the benefit of these live surgery meetings, is we get to see not just when things go well, but when things go badly, and there's some fantastic tips and tricks here. We're going to try and catch up with Dan later on and have a chat.
Because you're sitting watching it and you're out of control because everyone on the bedside is working. Here talking about the startle reflex.
Kidney surgery, and I think something happened. Maybe with the movement, clip previously positioned has been removed, and finally they realized that to control this bleeding while tightening the suture.
So we've just finished that session on robotic complications. Dan Moon, our colleague from Melbourne, friend of the podcast, was chairing it, and you were joined on stage by Jim Porter. Wow, amazing session, really was. The plenary hall was jammed. There were a lot of oh my God moments and so on. Why is a session like this important, Dan?
I think it's something that's not talked about enough and not shown enough in our training, in our life. We tend to bury some of these problems that we have because they're so terrifying to us and they're often hard to come to terms with. We all hate when things go wrong, but these are the times where we can learn the most, and they're also the times where you get to really just find out how good a technician and a clinician you are, because that is the time your skills come to the fore. And not only your skills, but your judgment, your reaction time, and there's a lot we can still all learn from how the medical society manages these, but also how other industries, and I pointed out the aviation industry trains vigorously their pilots for emergency situations, and I think we can learn from that as surgeons. I'd also like to point out that on my panel, though, we have robotic royalty here in Jim Porter from Seattle, who has been instrumental in bringing robotics to Australia. You know, he helped us start the first ever robotic kidney program in Australia. He's been a friend and a colleague coming to and from Australia ever since, Jim, so it's fantastic to have you involved and here and learn from you as always.
Yeah, Jim, welcome to the podcast. Yeah, we didn't introduce you from Seattle, and yeah, we've all known each other for 20 odd years, and we've marveled at your own individual skills doing all sorts of robotic surgery, including in the retroperitoneum. And you have another role we want to talk to you about in a few moments, because you've recently also taken up a role in leadership in the robotic surgery industry with Medtronic as Chief Medical Officer, I think. Yeah, so we'll get back to that, because that's a fascinating thing to have someone of your experience working on the other side of the fence to try and develop these machines. But on the robotic complication stuff, again, it's very sobering for the audience watching those sorts of incidences, some of the dramatic bleeding, severed bits of the body, you know, getting out of those situations. And you shared some fantastic videos yourself, but, you know, how important is it? Because at these sorts of meetings, you tend to see the best surgeons in the world doing beautiful live surgery, as we've been watching.
Right.
But in the OR yourself on Monday, you're going to have one of these complications. So do you think this kind of exposition of complications and how they're resolved is helpful?
Yeah, I do, and I think I think I'm complimented by Dan's comment, royalty, but even experienced surgeons have complications, and I think that's important to share. I think the idea that this only happens in people with inexperience or who've never done a lot of surgery, it just doesn't happen. We all have complications. The idea of sharing them is so that we all can learn from each other. And I can tell you, every time I come to the meeting, I'm still learning, despite the fact I've been doing this for a long time. So without this interchange, without the ability to share what we do and how we do it, the field kind of stays flat. So if we're going to improve things, if everybody's going to be better, we got to have this kind of exchange.
And indeed, some of it was, for example, showing the error, because it's always easy in highlight, isn't it? Showing, okay, that's not the correct artery we're looking at here. And Dan, you did a really good job showing, well, we just showed a correct dissection and this is incorrect. So I think that's very, 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 very helpful for the audience. The audience were all videoing these examples. I know you could feel it. So that's one thing, you know, going back to see how do we avoid making the error. But the second important point was how to get out of jail, you know, when this happens, whether it's some sort of instrument failure or it's an anatomical error that leads to it. And I must say the session was really well put together.
Thank you, Declan. The 2 points I would make, one is Firstly, that these are often life or death situations, and if the right decision is not made immediately, these patients can die either on the table or afterwards. So we're talking about really serious situations, probably the most serious that we ever have to deal with in that sort of acute space of time. But secondly, I think it's also a marker of how collaborative we are and how well this sort of conference brings all the professionals and subspecialties together, because it's very humbling and it's very generous for a surgeon to offer a video of one of the worst things he's ever been involved with, or she has ever been involved with. And so I also feel very flattered and privileged to be able to be just receiving these videos and showing them on behalf of people who their only motivation is to help their colleagues so that it doesn't happen to them and it doesn't happen to their patients.
So that's the message. If you're listening or watching to this, please send your terrible videos to Daniel Moon, because I think it's a bit cathartic. People have said that as well. I've shared some complications with you over the years as well. It can be, but so it's very, very helpful. Record your videos, but remember that sharing them in a forum like this can, be cathartic for yourself, but really helps others. Now, Jim, so you made that move about 2 years ago. Not a move, it's a partial move. You're still obviously in busy clinical practice in the US, but you've taken up a position with Medtronic, giant medical device company who are developing, continuing to develop their robotic platform, the Hugo system. First of all, what attracted you towards doing that type of role, splitting your life between clinical and industry? And tell us about it. How's it going?
Well, I mean, it's a really amazing position, I have to say. Chief Medical Officer for Robotics and Digital Technology. So my role is to help move the robotic system forward, make it competitive, make it functional and reliable, and give the offerings that we're used to with robotic surgery. My motivation to join Medtronic was really the fact that for the last 25 years we've had one robotic offering across the globe. Intuitive Surgical has done an amazing job. The tool is incredible. They've improved it 5 times. They did not need to improve it 5 times. We could still be using the same 3-arm robot we used in 2020, but in 2000. But they've made it better, and in so doing, we have a great tool. The issue is that as they made it better, the cost of robotic surgery continued to increase every generation. And again, that's part of the idea. You've got technology, you got R&D, you got to pay for that. But the cost of robotic surgery was getting so prohibitive that fewer and fewer patients were benefiting from it. And we have several examples across the globe where the economics of robotics was limiting what people could do. For example, in Europe, there are certain countries that have a pool of money for robotic surgery. Once that pool has been gone through, you are done with robotic surgery. You're doing lap, you're doing open surgery. So the idea of me joining Medtronic was to bring another platform to improve competition. Basically with competition, we're going to have the ability to lower the price. When there's competition, then everybody starts looking at what they're charging, and now we're seeing that. So we're starting to see, we've seen an increase in price over the years, and now we're starting to see a leveling off and actually a decrease. So it's not just Medtronic, there's other players in the game, and I think that's going to be good for our specialty, it's going to be good for robotic surgery.
It really is, and the Hugo Medtronic's been around for a few years now, but here at this meeting this morning I moderated a prostatectomy with Procard is up to doing it, and we've just watched Ben Jallicum do a case on the Medtronic. I think I've counted 10 or 12 of the live surgeries, of the 30-odd live surgeries are on Hugo Medtronic system, so this is not a big player, and it's not FDA approved in the US yet. I mean, all these processes, but in Europe there's quite big adoption. In Australia, I mean, we're still adopting. We had put a new system in Melbourne last year, so and there will be further technical developments on this platform, presumably, that will continue to grow the technology.
Yeah, I mean, the challenge is that Intuitive has been around for 25 years, and so there's a lot of robots across the globe. It's very hard for a hospital system to adopt a second platform when they've been, invested in Intuitive. They have surgeons who are used to using Intuitive. So that's the challenge. How do we bring another platform with the benefits of competition to these centers? But as you point out, Hugo works very well. It can do whatever is being done with Da Vinci. We've seen some great demonstrations. We're going to see more great demonstrations. So there's no technical downside to going with Hugo. It's just getting people to understand that this is a viable option.
Excellent, great. Well, look, thanks very much. Congratulations again on this excellent complication session and on your ongoing work with Medtronic, Jim. Keep up the good work.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. So Alberto, we're here at the live surgery setup for the Edge Medical System. So just explain to us what's happening.
Well, so here is the console. As you
Yeah.
can see, this is the console from Edge Medical.
Yeah.
It's in the center. So the conference center, the auditorium is over there. So
Yeah.
what will happen is that right now you will try for
Yeah.
the first time in your life a telesurgery with no training at all.
Yeah.
So you'll see what a latency means. We're supposed to have what, 135
134
134
milliseconds.
milliseconds delay, which is 2 milliseconds better than last year. Last year was 136, so this year is 134. You'll tell me
So
how you feel.
This is the console. But where's the cart? I mean,
the cart is
Yeah.
in Beijing.
the cart is in Beijing. Okay.
That is correct.
So the cart is in
it's over
Beijing.
there.
It is. So this is nuts. So this screen here is showing the image of the cart, which is how many kilometers away? 8,000 kilometers away. Okay. But we're going to control that from here.
We want to control. You are going to.
I'm going to control
this
that from here. Okay.
And today you'll do the dry lab.
Yeah.
Tomorrow we'll do a retroperitoneal partial
On a real patient. So I've never used this machine before.
This is exactly like the intuitive system. So you get used to this.
Look at this. Amazing.
No catalyst, so when you will feel the instrument working, but
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Okay.
there's no trokers, so the instruments are they have tremor because there's no trokers in there.
I get it. That's right. So they wouldn't normally be shaking. But look, this is amazing. I've never sat at this machine before, but it feels to me exactly like a Da Vinci Xi or the SP robot that I normally use. But I'm controlling these instruments that are, 8,000 kilometers away. And yeah, to me, Alberto, there's no delay. This looks...
Well, it's interesting because if you try it on the dry lab, it looks like there is no delay. Then when you are in the humans, you feel the delay at the very beginning. So you get a little bit slower. With 130 milliseconds, you are a little bit slower in your movements.
Yeah.
But as soon as the brain picks that up,
Yeah.
then
It just compensates for
it
it.
just compensate.
Amazing.
Just see if I have the same feeling as last year.
Yeah. So tomorrow morning, you're going to be up here, and there will be a real patient with kidney cancer, I believe,
With kidney cancer, correct.
in Beijing, and there are a team of surgeons obviously in Beijing as well. But Alberto will be controlling it all from here. So I know this is proper. We're going to let you concentrate now because you need to get familiar and make sure you're happy with the interface and the communication with the team in Beijing. But this is a true behind the scenes of telesurgery like you've never seen before here on GUcast.
Again, I'm on my suit. So like last
No
year.
scrubs.
No scrubs. Why? Because we're here, sir.
And what sort of communication technology is this? Like fiber or wireless?
Yeah.
Wired internet.
Yeah.
So that means is it like fiber or
Fiber, yeah.
a fiber connection?
Yeah.
And what sort of redundancy? I presume in case somebody trips over the fiber, is there a backup connection like 5G or something as well?
As we just said, the round trip latency is around 134 milliseconds. And under this scenario, you will feel a little latency.
Yeah.
But once you get into this surgery, I think the surgeon can get used to this latency.
Yes, so 134 seems to be well below the acceptable level, that
We
it's
have
more
done
than
some
fast
research.
enough.
I think 200 milliseconds is
acceptable.
Yeah.
And anything below 200 is really good, But I have to say, it's very impressive. I still kind of can't believe that moving my hands here and my feet is moving those instruments quite so far away. It seems sort of crazy.
Yeah.
And of course, during the surgery, it's not just controlling the instruments, it's also communication. We need to get the video back and forth. It's the diathermy. He's now activating the diathermy, of course. I'd forgotten about that. We need to do that. Plus, and you're imagining the smell of the smoke, I think, Alberto. And communicating with the bedside team, the audio and communication, so they can hear Alberto and he can hear them as well.
Of course.
Yeah.
Tomorrow we will use a teleconference system for them to communicate with each other. Yeah.
Fantastic.
And I think Dr. Breda can also talk with the audience at the venue.
Okay, so we're actually in the venue, but of course all the audience of 1,000 people will be downstairs, but they'll be able to hear him as well.
Yeah, just like this morning, you can ask Alex, you can also ask Dr. Breda.
I love it. Yeah. Awesome. Well, there you go. A bit of behind the scenes on telesurgery. I have to say, it's kind of jaw-dropping. Okay, so we're actually down here now in the live surgery session the following morning, having seen the dry run setup yesterday with the Edge Medical robot. This is quite spectacular. We're in the main auditorium with about 800 people. Let me show you what's happening on these screens. On the first screen here, screen A, we have Alex Mottry, who's here in the building using the MicroPort Toomey robot. The case is just being introduced on that system. And the robot is in Aalst in Belgium, the Toomey robot, with the patient undergoing a radical prostatectomy. On the next screen over, this mid-screen here, we can see Alberto Breda in the small image in the corner, who is in the room we were in yesterday on the Edge Medical robot, and he's about to do a partial nephrectomy on a patient in Beijing, 8,000 kilometers away. You can see the quality of the image is obviously stunning. But the remarkable thing here is the ability of Alberto to control this robot from here in London while the patient is in Beijing with no perceptible latency, diathermy, audiovisual left and right. And then over on the far screen, the third screen, we have another telesurgery. This time both the patient and the surgeons are in India. And this is a third system, so that's 3 different robotic systems we're seeing here. This is the Indian Mantra robot with a patient undergoing a radical prostatectomy as well. Yeah, so there you go. It's quite an extraordinary spectacle for the audience here to be seeing all this. Kieran, have a look at that screen again. So you can see Alex Mottry is there on the MicroPort robot, on the Toomey robot. And in the other screen we're seeing images from Aalst of the patient. And yeah, let's enjoy. Just walked out of the auditorium and I'm following Cash here from MicroPort, and we're going to go and actually find Alex as he's doing this live case upstairs. Okay, so we're here now. We're still in the conference hotel. Alex is in here doing the telesurgery on the Toomey robot. We don't want to distract him, but Cash is going to let us have a look inside. Pop in there, Kieran.
Good. Let me go to the other side again. That side was a little bit more difficult, but we are almost there as well. Good. So we will now open up at 12 o'clock.
So I've tracked down Professor Senthil Nathan. Senthil, great to see you, my friend.
Thanks, Declan. How are you?
Yeah, great.
You've come a long way to us, and thanks for joining us at ERUS this year in London. It's a great pleasure always to see you, and this makes it very special that you are here with us today.
Well, thank you for rolling out the red carpet to us. So, of course, you're one of the key members of the organising committee. Huge congrats to yourself, Ben Chalcom, and all your colleagues for putting together this amazing meeting.
No, we are very pleased. You know, London is a very costly city.
Yeah.
Generating money is next to impossible nowadays for these meetings. We are very pleased. We had a lot of sponsors and lots of philanthropy to help us here. And we are even more pleased that nearly more than 1,000 people are attending. It's the largest ERUS meeting ever done so far. Hopefully the next one will be even bigger than that. Let's see.
It will be. Now, we've just finished that spectacular parallel tele-surgery session inside. It really was truly extraordinary, and we've put together a piece for the podcast on it. But one of the things that a lot of people have been asking is about the technology, the transmission to enable it. And I know you have an interest in this. So can you just tell us, how did it all work? Is it on conference center Wi-Fi, or how can we connect to Europe and to Asia with these surgical robots?
It's very interesting. First of all, I should point out this is the first conference in the world to have simultaneously done 3 telesurgeries at the same time. My aim was 6, but unfortunately, due to British customs, American regulations, the general wars going around the world between China, America, and all this, we couldn't bring in all the companies. Last year, when we started this telesurgery topic in Orlando, initiated by Vip Patel, there was a general American feeling that telesurgery should happen only on 5G technology. But as most of us know, even you plug your TV, which is 4K, and your, let's say, your Skybox, which is 4K, but if your wire is 3K, it'll only transmit at 3K. So most of our hospitals, institutions, this hotel, everything has probably got 2K plugs, or maximum will be a 3K wire.
Yeah.
So I came up with this idea, this is not the ideal platform to do telesurgery, and you should understand the point of telesurgery is to telementor, do telesurgery in areas which are deprived of, brilliant surgeons, which are like Africa, deep parts of India, etc. And if you want this equality for the patients all over the world and democratically, then we needed to use a different technology. So we thought about this in a long way, and thanks to a lot of satellite companies which helped me to do this, we went on to different platforms. So there are different platforms today. If you say Alex Motri, he was using just a normal 5G platform, which would not be used for your mobile phone and telephones. While
so just totally wireless, it was a 5G connection.
5G connection
here, where he was sitting on the machine, over to Belgium.
Okay. And then we had Breda doing from here to Beijing. That was on a 5G standalone, so you get a special line. No one else can interfere in. So the speed, the latency doesn't drop. We've done studies, and we know that if the latency is less than 300 milliseconds, the human brain cannot synthesize it. You'll see break movements. So you saw that was at 144 milliseconds, which is good enough, you can. But still the brain can notice it, so it takes a little bit of time for it to adjust. And then finally we saw the Indians, they do theirs using a low Earth satellite. It is the latest technology. It is a technology used for drones and missiles and everything. It's brilliant. That technology is coming into medicine. It was so fast. Their latency time was just 32 milliseconds, and the worst time was 62 milliseconds. So that's what's behind this technology, that how we can transmit things across. From the days I remember when we couldn't even speak properly on the phone, here we are doing surgery across the world. And one of the most important things when we developed robotic technology in 92, 93, this was our aim. It was about telesurgery, doing surgery deep under sea or up in space where there's hostile territory. That's where we want surgery to go for.
And that point about those transmission technologies is very important, because I recall even at the last ERUS meeting in London 13 years ago, when I was doing live surgery at it as well, but we had like both satellite trucks, like we had to hire a satellite truck and hire time on the satellite. This is just for transmission of the video, not remote control or microwave signals. But if we had to invest in that sort of stuff for telesurgery, for controlling it, then it has no utility in Africa and in India. So it has to be that you've demonstrated here that you can do it on very relatively affordable platforms, low Earth satellites, 5G, etc., which means that the potential to actually use it in clinical practice is going to be much better, because we're not going to be requiring dedicated fiber links, etc., potentially to allow patients in other countries to benefit.
100%, Declan, because just to convert UK into 5G and putting cables and landlines costs billions of pounds. But using the air, which is free, and using telesurgery with low satellite capabilities is a brilliant technology. There are only few companies at the moment in the world which have this technology. One is Starlink, the other one is Airtel from India, and Chinatel from China. There are only 3 people. But thankfully, they're being very democratic. They allow every platform user to do it. Tomorrow, if you want to teach someone in Greenland from Australia, it's a matter of clicks and you'll be connected to them. This is the future because it really spreads the mentoring and the service of surgeons across the world.
Finally, it was in some of the discussions today, people were standing up saying, look, come on, really, this is a good trick, it's good to see, but is there really clinical utility? Is it really going to have practical benefit? For example, people were talking about islands off the north of Scotland and this and that, where patients have to fly to the UK or Denmark for treatment. Do you really think that it could be routine in some shape or form in some countries that patients actually will just be in their local area and a surgeon will dial in from elsewhere? Or is this just sort of showing off technical capability almost above common sense sometimes?
Not at all.
Yeah.
If, for example, I would like you to think about Canada. There are little towns which are 2,000 miles away from the main hospitals, but they have little primary care centers. And this has helped Canada and the remote areas there in a huge manner. All you need is a base station with a surgery, and it can happen. Very soon we do want to conquer space. Very soon we want to build an operating theater in the space station. And this is all step one, doing robots. At the moment, these are all master-slave mechanisms. Soon you'll have just cosmonauts and astronauts lying in a theater and space station and a robot anesthetizing and a surgeon operating as long as we get this latency time sorted out. It may look futuristic, but futures happen only when you dream at the ground level. So no one should sort of disrespect what the technology is. We should appreciate we are moving. Definitely. And telementoring, it's not easy to teach someone in Africa. As you can see, just now the Indian showed their robot, which is a highly skilled machine, which is coming at throwaway price, $400,000. Very soon, every little B-town, C-town in Africa, everywhere they can afford it. And in Asia, and if they can afford it, then they'll need people to teach them. Or if there's a complex case for someone to take over, or even if you're working in a remote area, to have a mentor who's available, who can help you and watch you over. If a complication occurs, they can help you solve it. It is definitely the future. There's no doubts about this.
Well, we've definitely had a really good peek into that future today with the technical exposition of what's capable. As Essential, congratulations again on this fantastic meeting.
Thank you very much, Declan. Thanks for the interview. Bye.
So we're here during this live surgery session. I've been joined by Silvia Secco from Niguarda Hospital in Milano and old friend of the podcast, Declan Cahill from here in London. Silvia, Declan, thank you for joining me.
Nice to meet you. Thanks, Declan.
Okay.
My pleasure. Thank you.
So this is a really good session, isn't it? On the screen behind us, behind Kieran here, we've got Chris Eden doing a single port, Retsia sparing prostatectomy. And both of you have just asked really good questions during the live surgery session, but you come from the hospital, Silvia, that really pioneered this procedure from Dr. Bocciardi. Can I ask you, what do you do in your own practice? First of all, do you do Retsia sparing? And if so, what about the single port?
Thank you, first of all, for having me here.
No problem.
Okay. Yes, I come from the hospital where my previous chief, Dr. Bocciardi, has invented the Retsia sparing approach. And now we are widely used that approach. So every kind of prostate, every kind of tumor, every size, every meter lobe, every previous surgery, whatever, it's Retsia sparing for us. It's just our brand.
Yeah.
So yes, we are adopting it for every case. And we're also lucky in our institution because we have the Da Vinci system, we have the single port, we have Versus, we have Hugo. So we are really performing the procedure with all of the platform that are nowadays available. More difficult with Versus. I personally don't have experience with the platform, but I do the Retsia sparing with the single port and also with the Hugo and of course the Da Vinci. It's interesting the case that we are seeing here. It's a very beautiful demonstration of a single port Retsia sparing prostatectomy. I'm honestly on my learning curve, but I think that only people who are doing only single port procedure every day can really overcome fast the learning curve with the single port, because it's a bit challenging robots, but for sure it's something new, it's something amazing. But in the future, we will see. Not now, because we're apparently everyone is selecting the cases. So we're just trying to make our life easier, because the fraction that we can use, we can have are different. But maybe in the future we will see if there are some modifications, some improvements in the robot will make it possible for more and more cases. For sure, single port is wonderful for kidneys. We're still exploring the prostatectomy and the rectus sparing as well. But we are actually performing it not only transabdominally and transperitoneally, but my chief, Dr. Belfano, that is basically he used to be the right hand of Dr. Bocciani for years, is now my boss. He's doing also extraperitoneally, and we are going to analyze soon the results, because he's done almost 30-35 cases, so we'll see.
Well, this is the really interesting bit, Declan, because for me, transitioning to single port recently, the attraction for me is going into the retropubic extraperitoneal space. And when I went to visit you in March, we did a whole podcast about it. That's part of the attraction for me. But what we're watching on the screen now, of course, is transperitoneal, because that's been deemed to be necessary for a retsia sparing. But we'll talk more about what you just said in a sec, Sylvia. So I'm getting the balance between the benefit of going extraperitoneal with the single port versus it's kind of tedious going transperitoneal with the single port, such a limited range of instruments, limited range of suction. What's your thoughts on it?
Well, just my thoughts on techniques is more about surgeons. My thoughts on techniques is more about surgeons. So the reason why surgical trials aren't that illuminating, especially unless they're multi-centered, multi-surgeon, is that you're never comparing techniques, you're comparing surgeons. So I think the whole aspect of the actual particular technique is irrelevant, as opposed to the person that performs it, how they measure what they do, and how they improve what they do, and how can they maximise their outcomes. When we've looked at comparing anterior and retsia sparing procedures, the outcomes have been the same on continence. And that's because the surgeons that were being compared were both very good at what they did, and the aspects of the bladder neck, the urethra, the sphincter was very good. So I think it's a non-debate, actually. I think it's hot air. This sort of thing, when we're looking at different surgeries and looking at techniques, for instance, this morning there were aspects of Alex Mottry's case that I'm going to take away with me. The way he reduced the bladder neck size with those circumferential stitches down the side, as opposed to just bunching up. And then Chris, this afternoon, the biggest takeaway point for me was the way he closed down the neurovascular bundles for hemostasis. They looked really quite nice. But the rest of the technique was essentially irrelevant to me, because it wasn't something that I'm going to particularly bring forward or whatever. But I don't mean to poo-poo the experience. He's a great surgeon, he's a great colleague, and a good friend. But it's about results and how you achieve them, not.
So Vit Patel this morning, was speaking about his experience on more than 20,000 cases. Yeah, and what are the tips and tricks? And he said go with the anterior approach, and it's all very personal. Anterior approach, use no energy, use clips, etc. Use a multi-port. And then this afternoon, Chris has almost been saying the opposite of that. And I think what that tells me is like what you said. It's all about the experience of that surgeon and what he or she is comfortable with. And I don't think we all have to be obsessed about energy or no energy, anterior, retsia sparing, SP multi-port, because it is that surgeon. Both of these surgeons, Eden and Patel.
Quite a nice way of framing the madness of that is, can you imagine Declan Murphy going up to Vit Patel and say, "Dear Vip, can I have a retsia sparing single port, please?" As opposed to your 20,000th anterior Vit Patel procedure. It's bonkers.
It is all about the surgeon.
But he has married that procedure. He has developed that procedure 20K. It's a huge number. It's never measurable. But if you've seen what the wire was showing today, he has basically done, yes, the hood is a sort of retius planning because the posterior plane is developed as exactly like we do. So there's no difference. And thus, it has been said that the important thing is the results. I totally agree with you. The important thing at the end is the patient, it's the outcome. So you can do whatever you want, however you want. Just keep the basic principle and do the best. Also, this clipless procedure, it's great. But I think that Christian either moved to a clipless procedure because with the single port, it's almost impossible to put a clip where you exactly want. So he had to think about it. I'm also going to take home some tips that you're showing.
And also, he made that point. This is my experience as well, watching Declan and Chris with the single port, is the instruments are better. I know they're weaker, as people say, so maybe big prostates, etc. But the precision on the bipolar, I think this bipolar is much nicer than the Maryland on the multi-port. And having a brand new scissor tip is very nice as well. So if you're going to be very pinpoint, sharp cut, because you know the way with the worn-out monopolar shears, part of the reason you want the clips is because, you know, even if you do a beautiful bipolar, the thing is like ripping, you know, it's chewing through the thing, you know. But you made the comment about extraperitoneal retius sparing, right? So this can only happen in a centre like yours that has done thousands and thousands of these procedures, right? So, you know, and this conversation, I suppose, is for the more experienced surgeons out there who understand the difference. But as I say, what Chris is doing is transperitoneal. To get into the retius sparing, you kind of have to go through the pouch of Douglas and so on. So if you're trying to get the real benefit of single port and say, okay, we don't need to go into the peritoneal cavity, but I want to do retius sparing. I mean, how do you even get into that plane? Can you please explain to me?
You basically have to follow the ERUS and then go down. And the benefits for the patients, yes, are there. They can really walk and eat. We are collecting the data because we need solid data to demonstrate that that's the way to perform retius sparing with a single port. For sure, as I told you, we need data, we need to prove it, but there's also learning curve. So we'll see if there's a real benefit, because if something is really difficult, I don't know.
Yeah, we can find out. Awesome. Well, Chris has just finished the anastomosis here, so I suppose we better duck out and have a cup of coffee.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So I'm joined here by Fabrizio Del Moro, who is the convener of next year's ERUS meeting in Padua, Italy. Fabrizio, thank you for joining us.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for the great opportunity to organize this great event. And I know that Padua is a small city, but I like to describe using 5 words. The first one is the ancient name of Padua is Patavium, because Padua has a very long and fascinating history. It was founded by Antenor, fled from Troy after the famous war.
Wow.
Yes. And
thousands of years ago.
Yeah, a lot of years ago. And the second name is the second word is A for the academy, because the University of Padua was founded in the 1222. It was founded by a small group of students and professors moving from Bologna. Bologna was the most ancient university in the world, moving because they are searching for novel place, searching for the great freedom of thought that are so important when you study, when they teach. And so the motto of the university is Universa Universis Patavina Libertas, emphasizing the role and the spirit of freedom. The third word is D.
D-P-A-D, okay.
D is D for dissection, because one of the most anatomists in Padua was Andreas Vesalius, the father of modern anatomy, and he completely changed the division of anatomy through a systematic dissection of cadaver, okay, but it was fantastic. You have to remember that the first describing and depicting the prostate was Vesalius in Padua, okay.
And roughly, how long ago was that? What sort of years do you remember?
Well, I don't know. There are a lot of people in that.
I'll edit that bit out. We won't do it, but like it's hundreds of years ago, isn't it? So I'll skip that bit out. So you're talking about Vesalius and the dissection.
What would you know?
We might as well move on to PADU.
And the U is the fourth one. U is for urology. The Urology Clinic of Padova was founded in 1940 by Giorgio Ravasini. Giorgio Ravasini was a pioneer, and together with Kuvler, they organized the very first Congress of the European Association of Urology in Padua. The last A is for the adventure. It's an invitation to be part of this fantastic adventure, but not only to see astonishing robotic surgery, but also to taste the beauty of the city. A is for Aperol Spritz. Aperol Spritz is one of the most famous aperitif in the world, and it's born in Padua. So enjoy it and visit Padua, and see you at the ERUS 2026.
Well, and Fabrizio here entertained this huge audience with a beautiful overview of that. And of course, we're all excited about going to ERUS anyway for the quality of the surgery demonstrations and the teaching. But I have to say, having listened to your presentation and your conversation now, Fabrizio, the city itself is such a destination. So, you know, I'm going to be going back to Melbourne and trying to convince maybe my wife and kids to come and join us in Padua next year. That's good, I think. You know, come and spend a few extra days. That's part of your message.
Absolutely. And Padua is so close to Venice.
Yes.
And I was born in Venice, and Venice is a magic, obviously.
Well, we're putting the dates and all that up on the screen. The links are in the show notes. So lock that in for September next year. An outstanding ERUS 2026 will be in the beautiful city of Padua, hosted by Fabrizio and a great committee. Thank you.
Thank you, and see you in Padua.
That's all we have time for on this episode of GU Cast. I do hope you enjoyed all that live surgery. Thanks again to our silver partners, Device Technologies, for supporting this episode. We'll be back soon.